Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Spotlight with Sandalina, and I'm your talk show host, Sandalina Sitar. Today's guest is Sheel, who is a South Asian fashion designer for her brand Svarini, as seen on the 2023 South Asian New York Fashion Week runway and recently featured in Vanity Fair. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh my God, thank you for having me.
I like your shirt, by the way.
Oh my God, thank you. I designed it.
Oh, I think I have that shirt too when we did our shoot together.
Yeah, you
during
modeled
Fashion
for
Week.
me. Yes.
Yeah. So I met Sheel in 2023. I saw her brand on Instagram because a few girls from my hometown were modeling for it. I reached out on a whim and told her, it's a long shot, but if you're ever in New York City and you need content creators or models, I'm happy to help out. What I loved so much about her brand was it was very inclusive and warm. It felt like a brand for everybody, and the designs are beautiful, of course, and you see South Asian girls that come from all different walks of life modeling for the brand, and it just felt like something you don't always see in the space. It was very unique, and lo and behold, she said she was actually going to be in New York City in September for Fashion Week. I, at this point, had not connected the dots, believe it or not, but just a few weeks before Fashion Week, I saw that South Asian New York Fashion Week released that their emerging designer on the runway was going to be Sheel for Svarini. I was absolutely shocked and overjoyed and DM'd her and congratulated her on her success. It all kind of felt like fate. Then I saw her in New York City that week. I went to her pop-up to help support her brand. And afterwards, I saw her backstage. I was helping backstage at South Asian New York Fashion Week. So we were in passing, and it was an incredible experience. Then later that weekend, I modeled for her brand, and we spent the night getting takeout together and just sitting in her Airbnb, I think it was. And we just watched Gossip Girl and talked till late at night. And I felt very connected to her very instantly. She's very warm, intelligent, and down to earth. So it was an incredible experience. Thanks again for coming on.
What a lovely intro. Oh my God, it made me feel so good. Also, our meet cute is so lovely.
I know. I love it. It feels so serendipitous. That's what I love about New York City. It's very butterfly effect. Things are constantly in motion, and it's just a matter of stopping and smelling the roses. And
I agree. It was meant to be, and now we're here
And now we're
filming
here.
your podcast.
I remember when I had met you, I was opening up to you about how miserable I was in my investment banking job.
I remember this. You said you were going to quit this summer.
Yeah, 2024 summer was the plan.
Yeah, and you quit December 2023,
Yeah.
and I was overjoyed when that happened.
I remember telling you, I want to do this talk show, and what I really appreciated was you believed in me. Like in perspective, like you had just met me. Like
Yeah.
we were new friends, and you just saw the vision.
But I felt it.
I love it, because that's how I felt about you and your brand. I saw the passion and the drive, and the more that I learned about you, the more amazed I was at your background and your education and your upbringing and everything that brought you to be the person you are today. And I just felt so strongly, even back then when the show was just an idea in my head, that I needed you on. So I'm excited.
I'm honored.
I'm excited to jump into it full swing.
Let's do it.
So we all know you as the designer behind Svarini, one of the most amazing brands in the space. But let's go back to the beginning. So tell me a little bit more about your upbringing, your hometown, your parents, your siblings. So let's go into that.
I grew up in Houston. My parents growing up, where I think they leaned a little bit more conservative, very, first-gen Indian parents. We're a Telugu family, and we watched a lot of Telugu movies growing up, but then I would go to school and I would live this sort of double life almost. Like I'd come home. My grandma and I shared a room till I was 16.
Wow.
Yeah, so very close with her. We actually have matching tattoos. She's kind of a baddie. She's this traditional like Indian lady that wears saris all the time.
Right.
Because my parents were more like, I think they were just worried about me, right?
Yeah.
Like they felt like dressing a certain way invited unwanted attention, and raising a teenage daughter, I think they were just always worried about that.
Yeah.
But
that's fair.
yeah, the way I internalized that was like, I'm going to live my life because I was trying to prove a point. And I think like I mellowed out and matured out, but that part of me never died. Like I think I ended up working in tech, and like the whole reason why I started Svarini was because there was this like younger Sheel that I never really addressed or like loved on, like the sort of brown representation I wanted to see. It didn't exist, I felt like. So I wanted to give back to her. Like Svarini is basically a love letter to young brown girls that you can do and be whatever you want. You don't have to subscribe to these rules that are brown girls have to dress and behave a certain way to deserve respect. Like you and yourself are worthy of respect regardless of how you choose to live your life. and you have that free will to choose how to live your life. Like that's the underlying thing.
I love what it stands for. Let's go back to the childhood. So
Yes.
you mentioned that your parents erred on the side of being more conservative,
Yeah.
which is very common for a lot of immigrant parents, and understandably so. They're battling these different worlds. They're coming from, you know, India, Pakistan, all of the South Asian countries, and they're bringing their kids here and plopping them down in America.
Yeah.
And it can be very scary. It's obviously they mean well, and they just want to protect you at all costs. And it can be hard because you're trying to balance these two worlds, and everybody has their own balance at the end of the day. But I think that's a very common and relatable struggle is balancing the modesty with the freedom of expression.
Exactly.
And that's something that I actually had a very interesting journey with too. So I'm Muslim, and as you know, I'm like a little more.
You walk that line very well.
Thank you.
Like you recognize all sides, and you like choose for yourself like how to dress, and just like wait, I'll let you explain. Continue.
Thank you so much. No, thank you for saying that. I think it's interesting because I've definitely had phases in my life too, but I think I'm at a point where I really like being conservative and modest, but that doesn't mean I don't have a very deep appreciation for the work that you do. Because I also see the way that you lift women that are oftentimes suppressed, and they have something that they want to share with the world, a voice to speak. And sometimes the clothes can give you that confidence. And I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think they're just beautiful in their own ways. And I love your brand. And
it comes down to like all women are different. They should be allowed the opportunity to choose what works and what they want.
That's the thing. I hate, you know, on one side, I really despise seeing women being suppressed into covering up and being told, no, you have to cover up this, you know, you have to, you know, out of respect for your husband, you have to not let the world even get a glance of you. And I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
But I also don't agree with like the other extreme of it too, where it's like, oh, like if you are like very, very, very show, it's one thing if you want to do it, but it's another thing when society pressures you into it.
Yeah.
And
It's
tells
like,
you
it's not feminist of you to dress like conservatively.
Yes.
Is not a feminist take.
I agree with that. Exactly. So it's also difficult when people say feminism is being, you know, wearing fewer clothes. And it's like, no, I think feminism is choice.
It's choice.
Choosing between modesty and showing off, and you do what makes you happy.
Yep.
At the end of the day. And I think that's the beauty of it, is just the choice.
Yeah. Freedom of choice.
Freedom of choice is a big one.
We'll die by that.
Absolutely. You mentioned your parents are a bit more conservative, which, you know, is fair. We just talked about that.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about their parenting philosophy with you.
They really preached education first above all else.
Yeah.
So there was little time for me to even kind of concern myself with whatever else is going on. Like we didn't really do grounding, because what were they going to ground me from? I was a brown girl. Like I was a nerd, you know, like what are they going to be like, don't do your homework. Like what are they going to take away from me? The one thing that I had that you could take away is tennis. I really like playing tennis.
Oh.
And that was not like an academic essential for them, right? Like being in the sun, I was already brown. I'm not like the whitest, like the most fair skinned brown girl. So they were already kind of on board to not like see me out playing in the sun all day. That was my only outlet as a kid, because I was an artist too. I'll go more into that. I really love drawing. So it was basically tennis, drawing, straight A's. And then I was also doing like the social media thing back when Instagram was just starting. So that was where all my time was. So taking away anything is really just taking away from my college resume, right? Like that's what we all recognize. So it's like there was no grounding. It was just like, but I loved them. So like making them upset was enough to like sometimes hurt me, hurt them. Yeah.
Painful in itself.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't want to disappoint them. You don't want to make them upset. So that was how we did that. They were like, you can lose everything. Like everything can be taken away from you. But the one thing you can't lose is your education. Like money can go, looks will go. So like people will go. But education, you can build yourself from anywhere if you just have that. So I really internalized that, and so that's why I like sort of did the school thing, even though I didn't enjoy it. And I think it was really rewarding, and all of that is what helped me build Svarini more than like starting fashion at like age 14. It was like doing the traditional path actually helped me.
I agree with that. So my parents were also very focused on education. I'm so thankful that they were and still are. I mean, I think it's very important for women. I think it's a lot of times their only protection against abuse, unfortunately. In the generation above, we see a lot of women trapped in really unfortunate marriages because they can't leave. They have no means to provide for themselves, so they're tied financially, and it's heartbreaking. It's gut-wrenching, and my parents were very clear that from day one, like, your education matters the most because that is your key to freedom in this world as a woman, and I completely agree. It is interesting because even though I'm similar to you, even though I'm pursuing something non-traditional at the moment, it's the business acumen acquired through the traditional education system that lets me do this in a manner that's very methodical and impactful. And I think that you can't just, maybe you can learn it on the fly, but I think having institutionalized education can't be helpful along the way. And it gives you the credentials.
It helps me feel like I can do this because I did something so hard in the past. Like I can like still keep doing something that's hard.
Tell me a little bit about your brother. So are you a younger sister? Are you an older sister? What's the dynamic there?
I am a younger sister, one of two.
Okay.
So it's just me and my older brother. He is growing up, he's always been a very smart boy.
Okay.
He was like talking, walking, dancing, reading by the time he was like 1. And I was a very mute child. I didn't even move. Like I wouldn't crawl or speak until I was 3. So it was very different. He studied computer science, went to Stanford. I also studied computer science, but he was always passionate about what he was doing.
Okay.
I think I've never really been very passionate about engineering. I've always leaned more creative. My parents were not the type to pit us against each other in like a competitive way. I think they recognized each of us had our own strengths, but they would pit us against our own strengths. They're like, I know you're capable of more, so you just like, you better keep meeting this bar, but never against each other. So we're kind of besties now. He's always been very supportive, very inspiring. And like, I think it's nice to have a sibling to both of you can speak to your parents and help them grow together. Like it's like a
United
2-on-2 thing. Yeah, exactly. Versus like if I was an only child, I don't know if I could have like reasoned with them so much because it's like both of them versus you in terms of like beliefs and trying to change them. What about you? How many siblings?
So 2 younger siblings. I like that you're asking me questions.
Oh, wait, I know this, but I wanted to hear about it again.
2 younger siblings. I'm the older sister. I don't know if that's obvious.
Wait, you know, the mother, yeah.
But
paved the way.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely interesting being the older sibling in the family. It's because you are the one that's trailblazing and paving the way. And when you kind of mentioned that you were lucky to have a united front to kind of talk to your parents together on topics. With me, I feel like I was alone in that a lot of times, but I was lucky in that I feel like my dad is very progressive and my mom has spent her whole life working towards being more progressive. So it was kind of nice to have that understanding. So I feel like in any given situation, I always had one parent that understood me. So I would never felt completely alone because I would have one parent advocating for me to the other and be like, hey, like, you might not get it, but I do. And you know, so I was alone, but I was also lucky in that sense. So.
And that perfect balance, I think, is why you're able to land where you are now. Like you're like understanding of where they're coming from and also like kind of pushing your own new narrative versus like, I feel like if they just let the reins loose and they're like, do whatever, you know, like this sort of like, I want to make a change part of you and like understanding all sides wouldn't have existed versus if they like really snuffed it out and they're like, no, like there's no like possibility, then you wouldn't have been here either. So I just feel like, yeah, those contradictions worked really well.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I think about that too sometimes, my upbringing. I'm like, I think that was essential for me to be who I am and to be somebody that can think about situations from multifaceted perspectives. I mean, I think it's important to, you know, you grow up with it and it's really helpful. So
yeah, a little conflict is good. A little sneakiness is good. It forces your kids to think outside the box.
Tell me a little bit more about Houston. So what's the demographic makeup there when you were growing up? And then also what was your exposure to wealth as a child?
Nice. Great questions. In Houston, there is like a South Asian community. There's like a brown scene in Houston. Okay. I did not grow up in that pocket. That's like more Sugarland. I grew up in Katy. There was probably 4 other brown kids in my grade.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Very different upbringings. We'll get to hers. There was very little like Desi representation. I consumed Superwoman a lot growing up. That was like my obsession when I first found her. Lily Singh. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. I even like had like clips of me like in my YouTube era where I would like wear the hat and like I would talk like her. I love it. I was obsessed. Exposure to wealth. Frugal. I never had to think about where food or anything important was coming from.
It's a blessing,
yeah, it was such a blessing. My parents were really good about you focus on school, like even chores, like we weren't really allowed to touch the dishes, mow the lawn or anything. It was like, you got time to study. Yeah, that was it. Like we weren't allowed to watch TV during weekdays or anything. It was literally like, you're going to college, the best one, so you better grind. And they did a really good job of working really hard and us not even noticing because they were always there. Like they were always there to pick us up.
What do your parents do? So do they both work? Does one of them work? And
growing up, they both worked.
okay.
They had a big break in the last few years, so like they're like retired and thriving. But
good
like
for them.
they're doing well. But like back when we were growing up, it was like my dad was working he was a chemical engineer.
Okay.
He was the big educational like foundation of our family. Like he's like obsessed with educational. He'll like go to college campuses. Oh my God. And just like, he'll like just get high being in the bookstore. And then my mom is less, so she was like more fun. And she worked a 9 to 5 as like she did data for someone until like, so she quit like 10 years ago. And this was a turning point for our family. She did a 9 to 5. She worked in data for them. And she started real estate, and she built a company so successful that my dad quit his job to join that. And that's what they did full time. And it just flipped our entire lives. And she was never like an education girly. Like she kind of just bossed up around the time when I was in high school. Yeah, did her own thing. And just like, she was like, she manifested the life we live now, basically. She was like, this is not it. Because they spent so many hours working a grueling 9 to 5. But yeah, never had to worry about money, but money was important. Like if something was cheaper at Walmart and we were at Target, we would drive to go get it from Walmart. So that was, I always absorbed that. It's like money is valuable. If you are going to spend it on food, you don't think twice about it. If you're going to spend it on vacation, you don't think twice about it. Like life experience, education, food, money is no object. But you save it everywhere else. Like, so like that, like abundance mindset, but also like you have respect for money. You're not just like throwing it around. I think internalizing both of those, that's sort of how we were brought up on that. Yeah,
no, I think that's very relatable. There's a lot of frugality in a lot of our upbringings, regardless of how much money we actually have.
Yes.
There's a huge thing in our community of like, you know, if you have wealth, you save it for the long run, you don't show it off. And I think there's a lot of pros to that too. To not make your kids so money minded and superficial. I think it's important because you see kind of in other cultures the negative impacts of that across generations. And it's like sometimes you're meeting people and you're like, I can't even have a conversation with you because you're so different. You're raised to value money so differently. I want to talk about more of that too when you talk about your college experience going in Ivy League. I'm sure you ran into some legacy kids.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm happy to hear about that too. But before we get to college, I wanted to ask, so you mentioned that you were kind of always the person studying. So describe your personality in high school. If you had to assign yourself an archetype.
You know, is her name Luna in Harry Potter? She was like the
Luna Lovegood?
In the eccentric, like
Yeah.
I think I was just like I was definitely made fun of, but like I never internalized it. Like I would not comprehend that I was being bullied, if that makes sense. Like if you had something to say about what I was wearing, I would be like, you observed what I was wearing. Like I wouldn't be like, oh, you're making fun of me. I was just like, it's just so weird. So I was kind of always doing my own thing.
Yeah.
Definitely more of a nerdy introvert. But also I was not like a books kid. Like I was also like being in the top 10, I always felt like an imposter because I never felt like the other kids that were also like nerds and book first studious. But I also never felt fully like an arts kid or a sporty kid. Like I just never felt like I fit in anywhere, which is like this typical coming of age trope. Like I just never fit in anywhere. So yeah, that's my, if I had to describe myself as an archetype, you know, the anagram test, the personality test.
Oh yeah.
You're like a type 4 individualist.
Okay, I have to look that up after. I'm not
I'll
gonna
make you take it.
Okay. Yeah, let's take it afterwards. Yeah. That's so funny. And what were your dreams as a kid? What did you want to be when you were growing up? And I know you talk about battling these kind of two sides of you from a young age. So did you have kind of contradictory beliefs for I want to be this and this, or what was your...
Okay, like baby, I wanted to be a doctor. That died really fast when I found out how many years you had to spend in school.
That was me too.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to be a doctor because it's too many years in med school next.
Yeah. And then after that, it was literally just, I want to get into the best college possible. I didn't even think about future after that, which proved like to be a horrible plot point once I made it to college. Because then it's like, oh,
what
shit.
now?
Yeah, what now? But I think it was always like I wanted to have the freedom to do everything. Like I kind of liked this idea of like I would see girls like who were MMA fighters, and then I would see girls traveling, and I want to be able to do all of that, which I feel like people struggle with these days, because it's like you can consume everything on social media. So it's like you want to live all of these different lives, but I was just really stubborn. I'm like, I want to be able to do a little bit of everything.
No, and I love that, because you don't hear that from South Asian kids. You don't hear that kind of expansive mindset. A lot of people are set on a very traditional path, myself included, by the way, where you just pick something very corporate, very, very stable money-wise. So this actually might be one of the first times I've heard somebody say, I just wanted to be everything, and I couldn't pick. So and pre-social media too, which is impressive. So tell me a little bit more about your college journey. So where you went to school, what you studied, and what your experience was there.
I knew I didn't want to be an engineer, but I studied computer science at Cornell in their engineering school. And parents, a lot of our parents will tell us this, like, get your engineering degree or get your blank degree and then do what you want, then do what you're passionate about. So that's what I did. And I knew I wanted to like have this free life. So like, what was my shortest path to that? 4 years. In 4 years, the most work-life balance and lucrative degree I can get is computer science. Started mechanical engineer, but can't work remotely. Like, and I'll be working hands-on, even though like I started mech-e because I wanted to work with my hands as an artist. I was like, no, CS makes the most sense for what I want. So I did computer science. Also, the boy I was dating at the time was a computer science major. So
that's nice. Help each other with homework.
Help each other with homework, but also I was like, I'm just going to switch to his major. He'll like me more. That's how I made my decision.
Were you one of the only women in your major, or what was the gender split?
Cornell prides itself on like a 50-50 gender split in engineering. In computer science, I think it was very imbalanced. Always had a bit of imposter syndrome. Like to the point where if you know the answer, you won't even like speak up, or like you won't even ask for help when you need it, even in office hours. Like you're just afraid of everything. And I think being isolated on a campus in a small college town, like upstate New York too, where you're in a bubble and it's like all of these people who are also young, like 19-year-old boys and girls, right? Like that. It sounds like they know what they're talking about, and you really feel like you don't know what you're talking about, and you haven't learned that even if people sound like they know what they're talking about, they actually don't, and they're all learning. You haven't learned that yet, so you just feel stupid and out of place, and like you don't want to take up any space. And then you just get worse and worse that way too. So you really like, I really struggled in college for a while. My junior year of college, I was starting to come into a place. I was starting to read self-help books and like consume content from other people, like other women in STEM that are like imposter syndrome. Like that was the first time I was like learning about it. And I was like, okay, I'm not smart enough to have imposter syndrome. Like that's what I thought as well. Like I was starting to learn about
You had imposter syndrome about having imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
Okay. I get it.
It was absolutely crazy. But yeah, graduated. Once I got the job and I was earning money to be a software engineer, then I got a little bit of like footing in the space, and I started to be a little bit like, like I'm a woman in STEM. I'm gonna lean in. I'm gonna wear colors to work. I'm gonna dress. I'm gonna be a fashion designer at the office. Like
go for it.
Leaned into it, and like that first year at my job, I did really well. Right, got promoted, and that was like hugely validating. Being someone that I literally thought I could not do software engineering, like in college, I just thought it was stupid. Taught an ML workshop. Like I flipped my own script, and then I was like, okay, I still don't like this. And so then that's when I like started to go back into like Svarini and like things like that.
And I really want to touch on one part of what you said that resonated a lot. So when I was younger, I also felt like I actually frankly think I've had bits of imposter syndrome my whole life. But I think when I was younger, it started because, so I grew up in Cupertino, which is like very like South Asian and East Asian heavy in terms of the demographic.
It's a competitive neighborhood.
And it's a competitive, exactly. It's a competitive neighborhood. So you have kids, like you're literally like 10 years old, 11, 10, you're entering, finishing elementary school, going to middle school. And these kids are all like, I know exactly what college I want to go to and what I want to pursue as a career. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be an engineer. And I was always I felt awful about myself. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Yeah. Mind you, I'm like 11 years old.
You're supposed to not know.
Exactly. And I remember I would go home and my dad would be like, they don't know what they're talking about. He would say, if anything, you're being honest. You're confused because you're honest with yourself. A lot of people around you are going to see this throughout your whole life.
That's good parenting.
It is great parenting. I'm very thankful for it. But he said, you're going to see this in life. A lot of people are lying to themselves and they keep pretending. And he told me, watch in a decade what happens to all those kids. They're all going to have their midlife crises in your 20s, which not that I'm exempt from that either, by the way.
We still have it.
We still have it. But his point was that nobody knows what they're doing.
Exactly.
Nobody knows what they're doing. And I believed him, but I was like, you're my dad. You have to say that, obviously. But it proved to be true. I grew up and I realized a lot of these kids had turning points, which is fine, by the way. I'm not criticizing anybody.
It's all a journey.
But everybody's on their own journey. And what people don't realize is a lot of people are just faking it. And I think my problem in life has always been being overly honest.
Yeah.
Openly, too.
Yeah.
It's a
no, openly. Yeah, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Like, I will get up on a platform and say I have no clue. And I'm fine with that. And it's interesting. And I really liked what you were also saying about the environment in college and kind of understanding the more of the nuances towards imposter syndrome and how it maybe got heightened at that point in time.
Yeah.
And then doing your job was kind of that validation and getting promoted. I have a similar story. I think when I was at Berkeley in the Haas School of Business, I was a transfer student. So I came from community college and I knew that I wanted to do investment banking, which, by the way, I have no regrets about it. I learned so much and I'm happy I did it.
You slayed.
Thank you. Thank you. But I remember hearing from boys, it's always boys in my transfer class that were doubting whether or not I could do it.
The unsolicited advice and doubt. Who asked them?
I know. I'm just like, excuse. And then when I did do it, by the way, there's only a handful of people that make it in every transfer class. So I'm very grateful that I was one of them. But then I started getting criticism. Well, she's not at a bulge bracket. She's not at Goldman Sachs. And I'm like, are you serious?
Shut up.
Are you serious?
Yeah, literally. It's infuriating.
It is infuriating.
It's also, you have your own internal monologue that's also doubting yourself. So like everyone else needs to shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like it's already hard enough.
Exactly. It's like you guys need to stop because I'm already. But the thing is, I always told myself, I was like, okay, like nobody knows. I would take that advice. Like nobody knows what they actually want to do. I don't even know what I want to do.
Yeah.
But none of this is that serious. And I reminded myself that a lot of this criticism, because by the way, I'm a very non-judgmental. Like I have no idea what anybody's doing around me because I'm just in my own world.
Exactly.
I'm very in my own world.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't care what people are doing.
Yeah.
And so I'm not used to this like judgment thing. I'm like, how do people have time to care whether people are doing? What do you mean?
Yeah.
But I realized it's a product of insecurity.
Yeah,
it always is. And I think that helped a lot. And it's similar to you when I was in my investment banking job and was constantly validated through reviews and situations where I was singled out and told that you are the top performer. Those are the moments that I stopped having imposter syndrome. It took a whole lifetime.
It should not take that long.
Yeah.
And I think like a majority of people are actually supportive, right? They want to see you do well, but we don't hear it. People that are making the noise usually are the people that are doubting you. The majority of people actually want to see the girls do well. I feel like it's just like we're not hearing that. Like they're not making that noise. They're not like, hey, you shut up, she's speaking. Like there's very few people that do that. Yeah. So you have to be that person for yourself. And I think once we got old enough, right? Like once you're earning your own and like you're getting that like validation from work, then you're like, I am that person. And now we want to be that person that reaches back and tells like the younger girls, the younger versions of us that are like, hey, like we still don't know what's going on and that's okay. And like you're still doing it right. You're okay.
When you look back on our lives, I think you can relate to this too. You can point out to those like key moments where you were able to kind of, have those character development points and kind of tune out the noise. And I think that's really important. And that actually leads me to my next question for you. So I know that you started your creative ventures at a very young age. So tell me about your first creative ventures.
Creative adventures. I was always a pencil artist. So my first portrait I remember was when I was 6 in Hyderabad in India. And my grandpa brought this beautiful, I think like Rajasthani woman picture from the paper. And he was like, draw this. And I drew it almost like I looked at it and I drew it on a paper. Just like as realistic as a kid could, but like to do realism at a young age, my parents were like, this is something that she is good. So like there was already like, oh my God, people are validating me for something I'm good at. So I took that and I ran with it. And I became like a realism, like portrait artist at a young age. I was doing a lot of that. And that's around the time too, Instagram was popping off when I was in middle school. It wasn't popping off, it was getting started.
Right.
So I started posting my art on there. And like when you're a kid and you're like an awkward, like, brown girl that doesn't really get any sort of, interaction and like attention in real life, right?
Yeah.
But on the internet, you're like building a community. It felt really good to like come home and like work with people online. So it's kind of doing that. No one was really paying attention. And it started to do well. And then like at some point I had like 1,000 followers. This took like a year.
Wow.
And then after that, it scaled so fast. I was like 13, 14.
Yeah.
For me, it was just like, I love doing this. This is fun. I put out art. I get immediate feedback, and like I get to work with other artists.
It's instantaneous gratification, which is also a drug in our generation. But you know.
And when you're like a competitive like brown kid, it's like, how fast can I grow this number? You know.
Yeah.
So it was fun, and then it went up, and then once. There was a lot of pushback when I was starting it, which was like, why are you wasting time? Right. I was doing this thing where I was making fan signs for like an account would message me and be like, can you make a fan sign, which is their username, but like in graffiti art, like a really pretty, and they would make it their profile picture. Wow. And I would just do it for people because it was fun. And my brother was like, you need to get paid for this or something. Otherwise, like, what are you doing? Yeah. But it built, it built community, and it brought traffic to the page, right? Like people's eyes would come to the page, and then it hit like 50K, but it basically, it turned into this thing that's like, I can use this to go to a good college. All of a sudden it became another badge that I could wear to get into a good college. Yeah. So that's when I started to hate it, right? Then it was like, that's when I started to hate it. I stopped doing it my freshman year of college. I think it was around like 70 something K when I just left it behind. And
did you preserve the accounts or anything, or just completely deleted?
I didn't delete it, but I stopped posting. I stopped touching it. So it's there, but I haven't touched it in a while. Okay. But it was like I learned a lot of things from doing that. And I think that's what helped me with Svarini too. It's like social media is not new to me. I mean, like the way it is now is definitely new, and there's a lot of things to learn, but like I had a lot of fun doing it for a while, like creating and like having online friends. Like I love a good online community. I think I just lost it because once you start doing something that you love for, I don't know, like money or like some sort of external validation.
It can suck the life out of it,
Yeah. And then you start to hate it. And then you're doing it on top of all the other things you're doing. Like on top of being a student, I'm already doing something I don't like doing. Then it was just like I left it behind.
When I was in middle school, this is not the same thing, and it was not as scaled out as at all. But I had a One Direction fan account.
This is what I'm here for.
That was and you know, I don't think it had. I think at the peak it reached like 1,000 followers, but I was also probably following like 700 people. So you know, ratio in mind, it's whatever.
Community.
But it's a community. But I think that you know, having that, I don't regret it. But I think there's a lot of dangers to social media at a young age. But I think that in both of our cases, we wound up being very lucky and being able to take lessons from it that we can now apply to our careers as women, no longer girls, but as women in our 20s. Yeah. But I think it's interesting to have grown up in a time right when it was starting out. So one of the things I also love about your brand, I feel like you are so inviting to anybody that wants to help or you know, jump in, whether it's modeling or content creation. And it's so rare because a lot of brands, and I don't fault them for this either, by the way, but a lot of brands have a very strict vision of the kind of woman they want to represent, right? And I love that you basically say my vision is every woman. Every woman, she is the vision. Like there's no size, height, nothing, no colorism, nothing. It's just every woman can be part of it. So tell me a little bit more about your brand and the genesis of that. Svarini
was a fever dream. Okay, I was working my software engineering job. I'll paint the picture. It was October 2022. Okay. And I had tried a few things while I was working my 9 to 5. I knew my 9 to 5 was never going to be my end goal, right? I was always chasing this like being free feeling. And I tried to do a tech startup. Like me and my friend Shreya, we would meet and we would like bounce ideas.
I love that.
Yeah, like women's reproductive health, X tech, like that's a space that like we would be passionate about and like that needs, you know, more love. Yeah. And doing tech outside of tech, like outside of my 9 to 5 tech, doing more tech, it was just like awful. Like it was just never going to come together. So I let go of that and I entered this place of, you know what? I don't need to be a CEO or like anything to prove my worth to like all of these like founder bros around me. My brother's also a tech founder. So I was like naturally surrounded by a lot of high achieving, very smart people, which was fantastic. Like, and they were all like really great, fun people to be around too. So it was just, I've always felt like an imposter, right? So again, in this environment too, I also felt like I'm working a 9 to 5 I'm not passionate about. What am I doing?
I get it.
Yeah. So I was like, I have to found something. But then I let go of that. And I was like, I'm figuring it out. I'm good as is. And I just started doing my tech job and doing like creative pursuits outside of it. I had bought this sewing machine that was collecting dust because I was too busy focusing on more lucrative like pursuits that would like pay off. was like, I want to learn how to thrift flip my clothes. So I unboxed the sewing machine and I took a sewing workshop in Houston. I went to visit my parents for like 6 weeks. I was living in San Francisco working my tech job. Okay. So I went to Houston, visited my parents. There was a local sewing workshop. I think it was like $10 a day for 2 hours a day.
That's great.
It was great. There was this like very old woman, I think like in her 70s, and she really slow pacedly taught a beginner's, having someone there to show me how to do it, help me accountable. Huge. Yeah, you show up every day and you like get to work on, and I sewed this skirt with pockets, and then I took that and ran with it. I just started doing things at home, and then making my own clothes, and then Svarini, the word itself, was a huge like break for the brand. I think that's what inspired a lot of the vision. I don't know where I think it happened during COVID.
Okay.
But I feel like you manifest a lot of things like this. So like this will resonate with you. But Svarini is this old like Sanskrit word, Svarini, which means free woman. And then it was used in like I've said this a lot, but like in circulation it was used as like a slut shaming term.
Yeah.
To put down queer women or women in business or unmarried women, things like that. And I just like internalized that so much. And then like I was making clothes and I was like, Svarini is a brand that I want to build. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be a fashion brand or like, I was also really into fitness. I was like, I don't know if it's going to be a workout brand or whatever, but it's a brand I want to build and a story I want to tell like about brown girls. Didn't have any fashion background. Okay. But then it was just like, I started designing clothes for myself. And then I was like, went to India with my family on some vacation. And while I was there, I was like, this is work trip. I'm going to find a manufacturer. I'm going to find someone to help me bring this to life. And I did. I actually did. No connects in the fashion world. Just like I probably went through like.
What month and year is this now?
This is January 2023.
Okay, wow. So this is very recent.
Very recent. Yeah. So like started like Svarini, bought the LLC October 2022.
Okay.
And like that's when I was literally like taking the sewing workshop. Few months later, go to India. Then like I now have something physical in India.
Yeah.
And my 9 to 5 is funding all of this, right? Like my software engineering job. I'm able to like take bigger swings with like, I'm going to test out this manufacturer in a business I have no idea what I'm doing in. It's going to cost me a few grand.
Yeah.
I make that this month. You know what I mean? Like I've been saving in like whatever. So like That's had huge. The money. Yeah, it's huge. And then did that, finally found someone I liked working with. But that also didn't work out. Still love working with them, but I found, again, like it's manufacturing's tricky, but eventually.
I can't even imagine.
But like eventually like you landed on, it worked, and this was around March. I had physical prototypes for all the pieces.
Okay.
And then I was getting very busy at this point, and it was.
And did you have a vision for the brand at this point, or were you just kind of just like seeing what happened?
Just seeing what happened.
Wow.
I knew Svarini had to be something, but I didn't know what it was going to look like. I was also insecure about it because I was working in tech, but I wanted to make clothes that I wasn't even really skilled at.
Yeah.
Right. So like, how could I justify not going to hang out with my friends and stay in my apartment, just like working on this thing that like, even I am doubting if it's going to be something. So it's just like, you have to be delusional in like these, in these spaces. But then when I did tell my friends about it and I was really nervous, they were so supportive in a way like people have never been supportive of anything I'd ever done in my life. And they could see before I could see that like this is something I would do well at, if that makes sense. Like I knew I loved doing it, but I didn't think I was going to be good at it. I don't know if I'm good at it, but I just feel
you
like
are. I can I've seen your clothes on the runway. They look great.
Making people feel good in them, like being able to see that in real time. When my friends would try it on, and I would be like, you look great. You feel great. Like that was amazing. And then that was the real push to take me from March to July when I launched. Yeah. If I didn't have that support system external, it wouldn't have come to life, especially so fast. So that was huge. July 11th, launched Svarini online with the Shopify shop. Manifested South Asian New York Fashion Week. Okay. South Asian New York Fashion Week. 2022 was their first year.
Yes.
There is a reason why I think that I started the Svarini LLC in October of 2022. So unprecedented, right? Obviously I knew about it. Never thought I was going to be in it, especially since Svarini just launched in July. The turnaround was so short.
Yeah.
Looked online. It's someone, Alicia, she was on your show.
Yeah.
I
love her.
Amazing. DM me and was like, you should be on this, emerging designer. And I was like, what? I just opened my shop. Then she was like, no, apply. I tried to apply online. Applications were closed. And then I DM'd her again. I was like, applications are closed. What do I do?
Yeah.
But she was like, okay, DM the founder. It's like, hey, and Shipra. Just like directly DM them and reach out to their email online. I did hear back. Went through the application process.
Wow.
And that's how I got that. But it was like, I didn't think it was going to happen. It really came down to like I love Svarini as a brand. Like what you're doing is really cool. I've never seen it before. And the whole feedback I was getting the whole time before Svarini you could see what it was like, oh, I've seen this before. I know someone doing this. I know someone with an Indo-Western brand. But then once people saw Svarini, they're like, I've never seen this being done before. So it was like, that was really
very
cool.
Unique.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how that happened. Timeline.
Wow. Okay. So then you came to New York. Your clothes were on the runway.
Yes.
What was that experience like?
Insanity. Oh my God.
And that's when we met. I remember you were in this like days of like, I can't believe my life is real. I loved watching it. I was like, this is what I love about New York. Yeah.
I was like a deer in headlights. I was like, I don't know what's going on. Had my first pop-up ever. There was 2 days for this pop-up for Svarini shop. And the second day, so many of you guys came in, like who were following South Asian New York Fashion Week. But the first day, I made 5 sales, and I was so over the moon with like total strangers. Who weren't even South Asian, and I was just like so ecstatic. Then they posted press for South Asian New York Fashion Week that evening, and the second day, I think there was about like 25 of you rolled through. Really cool brown girls, and you're like, I've been looking at this online. Now I get to see it in person. And then we were meeting. It was just like, it was insane.
It was like sparks and it was magic.
It was such a magical environment. I'd never experienced anything like that. I'm so glad you were there.
Oh, I'm so happy I came. I remember trying on the outfit and I was like, wow. I was like, this looks good. I was like, I loved it.
Because the runway happened. I don't know. It was just crazy to be in that space. When things like that are happening, and you can speak on this too, you don't really have time to process. You sort of feel a little bit numb.
You go on autopilot. I truly think your brain just goes on autopilot and you're like, is this real? Is this happening? Okay. And you're not even processing it until afterwards when you have your first day in bed from recovery of all that and you're like, whoa, did that just happen?
No, literally. And the whole time too, I felt like I'm only going to have one shot. I have to extract as much value as possible, make sure it goes off without any like hitch. I mean, looking back, it's obviously not true, right? It's all a journey. But like, yeah, that's where you're at in moments like that, where you're just like, I have to make sure, because I don't know if this is going to happen again. Yeah. So yeah, kind of numb.
And I think South Asian New York Fashion Week, it changed my life too. Yeah. That first year, 2022, so I had just moved to New York, and I like knew nothing of what I wanted to be. I was doing this investment banking thing, and I was like, I'm already miserable. I was like, I'm a couple months in, geez. And I just on a whim was like, oh, like, what is this fashion show? I knew people walking. I saw like mutuals and stuff on Instagram, and I was like, this person's there, and then this person's. I was like, how are all these people here at this thing? I'm not there. I need to be there. So then I went, and I feel like it completely changed my life. Like I have a vlog, a video. I like video journal, I guess.
Drop it.
Lots of crying in there. But I have a vlog where I come back from the show, and I'm like, wow. I was like, I felt something, and I need to feel that again, and I need to do this again. I don't know what it is, but like, there's something.
It woke something up in us, I feel like.
I think there was something dormant in a lot of us that was awakened in that event. And I can single-handedly trace back every single creative thing I've done to that event. Because I think that's what sparked it and got the gears turning. And even this talk show is a direct byproduct of that. So it's crazy how impactful, with the ripple effect of innovation and change, especially within a certain community and demographic. So
I also want to turn that around and give you some credit there. Like, the reason why you were able to value the event like that is because you are the type of person to extract value out of experience. Like, I feel
Thank you.
Yeah. So
it's a combination effect. Thank you. Yeah. I really appreciate that. So I want to talk a little bit more about some of the defining moments of Svarini. Specifically, have there been any moments where you have been completely starstruck over the people that are paying attention to your brand?
Just people in general that I thought were cool. Again, like, I've always been incredibly socially anxious. So like in the beginning, where there was a lot of like influx of just people in general, I was like, holy shit, you like it? And then it was just like I don't get starstruck, I think, because the people I would get starstruck by are very like specific in terms of like how they influenced my
that makes sense.
Like if I saw Lily sing, I would probably be like, whoa.
We gotta get you to work with the Varani for her hair care launch. We gotta make that happen.
Oh my God. That'd be crazy. There was one time though I did feel it. Himal Patel. She was this creative director, brown Desi baddie on Instagram.
Okay.
I had been following her for years.
Yeah.
She was the first of her kind, at least from what I had seen. And I grew up pretty much on Instagram. So very influential because she was dark-skinned Indian like me.
Okay.
And she was this like just this walking art piece, you know? And it was just like, I had never seen that before. And that was like, that shaped my identity in a subconscious way. There's like few like women that have subconsciously, many women, but like few ones that I can like specifically trace a lot of change. Yeah. After seeing them. So she was one of them. So she was watching at the show. She was at the show. Oh, wow. So when I saw her like, and like she turned her head and I saw that like her 3-dimensional face, you know, when you see from 2D to 3D, I was like, oh, that's crazy. But my mom was starstruck by Ashley Biden was there.
Yeah, I was starstruck by that one too, frankly.
Ashley Biden?
Yeah, I was. Anyways, I'll let you tell the story.
Wait, I'll also hear it from your perspective. Like, amazing woman, right? And like she was so like being pulled in so many different directions. But then she said Svarini was her favorite. And then she saw me walking on her way out and she took the time to like tell me that we should be in touch, that I should dress her and like whatever. She was like really nice. But the point is like, it did go over my head, right? I was just like a deer in headlights and I was also like, she's just being nice, right? Like this is like Ashley Biden's loving on the girls. Like we stand. But like Ashley Biden, Indian fashion icon, is not a thing. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's not a thing. But this was huge because my mom and dad were starstruck, right? Yeah. And that's
the president's daughter, the U.S. president's daughter is not just acknowledging, but is fangirling over their daughter's designs.
See, I didn't think much of it at all, right? Because like all of these people I had been looking up to were like being sweet on the brand. But then my mom posted a video. You took that video. Oh my God, thank you. I did. My mom's like, till this day, you got to thank the girl that took that video. She gave you a career in their eyes. Like, because my mom was like that was like validating for them, right? Yeah. They're like, my daughter is out here doing something unprecedented. I don't understand it. Yeah. But then seeing that made them understand it a little bit more. So like, for me, like, maybe for Svarini would have made more sense to get that sort of validation from someone else. But this was best case scenario, honestly. Of course. Like someone that they knew and recognized loving on it. That made the most sense. It was just amazing.
That's a sign of the success and authenticity that you bring to the table. Is I don't think the president's daughter, she probably goes to a million of these events all the time. Exactly. So for her to specifically come to you and to call you out and say and hold your hands and say I loved your designs. I mean, it was, first of all, it was surreal to watch as a third person.
She makes you feel so like it just felt like a girl just like loving clothes, you know, like that's her magic. I feel like, yeah. But
from my perspective, so I was working the event backstage, and I remember, so I was ushering people, and they showed us the guest list of like, oh, like who is coming. And I saw Biden on there, and I was like, excuse me, what?
Joe?
I was like, Joe, is that you? No, I remember just seeing Biden on there, and I was like, okay. And I'm the same, like, I don't really get starstruck either, but this was like a different like world. To me, I was like, Biden? I was like, that's crazy.
The White House.
The White House. And then I was like, wait, and then I saw these guys in these suits, and I was like,
the Secret Service? Wait, I was starstruck by the Secret Service. Because you see them on TV.
Yeah, you're like, wait. So yeah, I was like, okay, so the Secret Service is here. And I was like, that's crazy. So I was like, okay, so Ashley Biden must be here. I was like, whatever. Then not whatever, but like, okay, cool. There's a lot of big names in the house. So just like, okay, another big name. And then at the end, I remember people were leaving, and I was coming to you because I wanted to hug you and congratulate you. And then I saw this woman in I think she was wearing neon green.
Oh, she was slaying.
Yeah, she was. She looked great.
The mini dress.
And the neon green dress. And she was talking to you and hugging you. And I was like, is that? And I was like, I need to document this. I was like,
she took the video.
I took the video. And I like pulled out my phone. I don't even process. I was so happy for you. I was like going through all these emotions. And I was like, I'm not even you, but I can feel your emotions right now. So I just.
That's real love, okay? Like, that's my love language. Like, your friend that, like, sees you in a good situation and she's like, she's gonna want a picture of this. Yeah, like, that's real love.
So I took the video and I was like, this is gonna come in handy. I hope it does. And I'm so happy your mom liked the video.
She loved it.
But no, I mean, I think it's just a testament of all of the hard work that you've done. So what, just, you know, as we wrap up, what are your kind of future plans for Svarini? What's your vision? Where do you see it going?
Svarini, this year I want to put out a YouTube video every week and continue like focusing on the messaging and the impact.
I love your vlogs. They're very cute.
Oh my God, thank you.
Very touching.
So much feedback back. Like so many comments of girls saying like, I didn't realize I needed to see this until like your video. Like it was like almost like a release.
Yeah.
And just like that was so healing.
Wow.
And so just like giving back more in that space. And like Svarini, I think, right now it's a fashion brand.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to grow the YouTube as much as I can this year because that builds like long-standing community more than you can build with, I think, a lot of short-form content.
I agree.
Yeah. But it takes so much effort. Like,
it's a lot of work.
That's why a lot of people don't do it, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you can build lasting communities because like it's hard, but it's not going to stop us. So
no, it's not.
It's not going to stop us. So
we'll find a way.
Yeah.
There's a will, there's a way.
It'll be a good year. And then, not really any plans after collection 2 and like past YouTube. Just like taking any opportunity.
That's enough for now.
Yeah.
That's the next like 6 months, it looks like, of life is those two things. So.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible.
What about you?
What about me?
I want to hear about your plans. It just turned to 2024.
It just turned 2024. Yeah. So this is being filmed in January of 2024. So I am still working on this show.
Yes.
I love doing this show. And I feel like today is the day I launched.
Launch
officially.
day.
It's January 21st. I don't know when this episode comes out, but today is January 21st.
History books.
And, you know, the reaction has been so positive thus far. I'm doing a launch party in March, which you're of course invited to.
I'm gonna be there.
So I want to, help socialize the podcast, the talk show. I want, people to see what it's all about and celebrate and come together to celebrate its success. Hopefully by then too. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the process of finalizing a new job. So I want to continue doing a finance job. No longer investment banking, but just something that has a 40-hour week.
The bar is in hell.
The bar is in hell. Yeah, I'm like, I just want to be done, like, at a decent hour. So, my goal right now is prioritizing health. So I've been going to the gym, cooking at home, prioritize the talk show in the evenings, early mornings. And I really want 40 hours a week. I need that intellectual stimulation so bad.
Yes.
I need it so badly.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I'm at right now. So fingers crossed it all works out.
I know you're going to make it happen.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think like the working out too, in the midst of such a busy schedule, even working 2 jobs, working out gives you more time.
Yes.
Because it's like, it frees up your brain to be able to handle the kind of like shit you put it through when you're like building something.
I think so. And I just feel better throughout the day. I just feel good. There's a pep in my step. I'm like, oh, I went to the gym today.
Yeah.
And I just feel so much better.
Yeah.
But as we say our final words, I wanted to ask you, what's your message to the world, to the people listening? If you had to say one thing to them, what would it be?
Oh my God. You have free will. Don't sleep on it. Use it and do something like that speaks to you, even if it's hard. Just like pour into it, and I promise it's worth it.
That was so beautiful. Thank you. No, I felt that. I didn't look at the camera, but I felt that in my body. Thank you so much.
Oh my God.
That was such a lovely message.
Wait, always lovely talking to you. Congrats on the show.
Thank you so much. Well, that's all today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Check back in next Sunday for the next episode. And I'm your host, Sandalina Sitar, signing off.
Let's talk about relationships.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
we never talked about relationships.
I was like, we didn't get into it in this episode, but honestly, it's fine because
we'll do it again.
So tell me, we talked about this before.
Dating. Oh.
This isn't being filmed, so
it's perfect. Get really into the details.